So lesson today is 4.2. We're doing trigonometry and right triangles. So quite a bit of this will be review, some will be new, and then when we have any optional portions, I will highlight those in red. And note before we start, lots of angles are typically measured in degrees. So if your calculator is in radians, you need to change it. So to do that, you want to hit mode on your calculator and then make sure this degrees is selected. So arrow down here and then hit enter. And that will then put you into degrees, and you do second, quit to get back out of that. All right, so trig ratios, again, something you have done before. You can think of SOHCAHTOA. So here, if we're looking at angle A, we're going to label all the different sides of the triangle. Directly opposite A is going to be your opposite side. Directly across from the 90 is your hypotenuse, and then the side touching A and touching the 90 is your adjacent side. So this SOHCAHTOA helps you remember what is what, or what the different ratios are. So sine is your opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is going to be the adjacent side over the hypotenuse, and then tangent is your opposite side over the adjacent side. So these you've seen before, there's nothing new about them. You did these in geometry, you did them in advanced algebra, you've done them before. Next, these will be new to you. So this one, the SCS, this stands for cosecant. SEC is secant. And then COT is your cotangent. And these are reciprocals of your standard trig functions. So cosecant for your first one is going to be the same as 1 over sine of A. Secant is 1 over cosine of A, and cotangent is 1 over tangent of A. So you can still use SOHCAHTOA here for your standard abbreviation. This is still our opposite side, the adjacent side, and the hypotenuse. So here, cosecant, instead of being opposite over hypotenuse like sine is going to be your hypotenuse over the opposite. So they're just reciprocals of each other. Secant is going to be the hypotenuse over the adjacent side, and cotangent is the adjacent side over the opposite side. A way I remember which ones go with which is you want a C and an S for each chunk. So cosecant goes with sine, secant goes with cosine, and then tangent obviously goes with cotangent because they have the same names. So some examples figuring these out. Here we have a triangle. There's our angle, is right there. We have a 2 and a 3, but we don't know what the third side is. So straight across from our angle is the 2, so that's going to be the opposite side. Touching the angle and the 90 is your adjacent side. And then this would be our hypotenuse. So we need to figure out what the hypotenuse is first. So you can do that using the Pythagorean theorem. So we have our a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So you can plug in the different chunks. Which is a and b doesn't matter. So we can get 2 squared plus 3 squared has to equal to c squared. So 4 plus 9 equals c squared. 13 equals c squared, c equals square root of 13. And then from there we can fill out the rest of this. So sine is, we do SOHCAHTOA over here. Sine is your opposite over hypotenuse, so you're going to get 2 over square root of 13. Cosine is your adjacent over hypotenuse, so 3 over square root of 13. Tangent, opposite over adjacent, so 2 over 3. And then to find the next row with your cosecant, secant, and cotangent, you just want to take the reciprocals. So this will be square root of 13 over 2, square root of 13 over 3. and 3 over 2. All right, so a little bit more complicated. Here we want to figure out what a value is. So to do these, you want to start by figuring out what sides we have labeled. So we have an angle. We have the side that's touching the angle and the 90 degrees. So this is our adjacent side. And then we also have the side opposite the 90, or our hypotenuse. So if we think of SOHCAHTOA, we want to figure out which of these has the same letters. So we're going to end up using cosine because it uses the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So set this up, you want your cosine of some angle, whether it's x or an actual number. So cosine of 15 has to equal your ratio, so adjacent over hypotenuse. And then from here you can solve. So we can multiply both sides by 25 and end up getting 25 cosine of 15 equals x. And then you can type 25 cosine of 15 into your calculator. Just make sure you're in degrees because you have 15 degrees as your angle. And you should get x equals 24.148 centimeters. All right, so here's another one. Try this one on your own. Pause the video and work it out, and then press play and keep going. So here's our angle. We have the opposite side here and the adjacent side on this one. I put our SOHCAHTOA again. We have opposite and adjacent, so you want to be using tangent. So tangent of the angle of 50 equals the opposite over adjacent. And now you can keep going with this to solve. Multiply both sides by y, and then divide both sides by tangent of 50. Type that into a calculator, and you should get y equals 18.46 centimeters. If you don't, check your mode and make sure you're in degrees again, because you're using 50 degrees. All right, so this one, we're going backwards. Here we have two sides, but we're looking for the angle. So you're still going to set it up the same way. 5 is opposite the angle, and 14 is opposite the 90, so it's the hypotenuse. So if we look at SOHCAHTOA, we have opposite and hypotenuse, so we want to use sine. So sine of your angle, in this case we don't know it, so sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse. And then to undo sine, you have to do sine inverse. So I'm going to take the sine inverse of both sides. And then sine and sine inverse are going to cancel each other out. So you'll get theta equals sine inverse of 5 over 14. And then this you can type into your calculator, and you should get theta equals 20.925 degrees. So I'll show you just quickly how to type this in. If you pull this up, you want to do second sine will give you your sine inverse of 5 divided by 14. And then you get your answer. All right, these next two are word problems, and these two are going to be your optional sections. So you can ignore this or watch this if you would plan on doing the optional homework. So here Jim is standing 500 feet from the center of the Burj Khalifa. And we want to figure out what angle does Jim have to tip his head to see the top. So draw a triangle to visualize this. Doesn't necessarily have to be to scale. So he's 500 feet away. Building is 2,720 feet tall, and we're looking for the angle that he's looking up at. So here we have the opposite and the adjacent. So we're going to do tangent of the angle equals this over 500. Take the tangent inverse. And your theta is going to end up being 79.584 degrees. Again, if you're not getting the same answer, check your mode and make sure you're not in radians. Okay, so this last one again, you can watch it if you want to, or you can go on to the homework. So this would be optional. So this is going to take a little bit more effort. We want to figure out the x and the y. So if we're looking at this triangle first, we have an opposite and adjacent. So we can set up the tangent of 42 has to be equal to x over y. And then if I set up the other triangle, we still have opposite over here and adjacent. Tangent of 33 is then going to equal x over 18 plus y. And now at this point, we want to figure out or substitute one thing in. So I'm going to solve this first one up here for x. So you can multiply, scrolled way too far. We can multiply by y over here and type in tangent of 42. We'll get 0.9004 y equals x. And then I can take this and plug it in right there for x and keep solving. We go to blue here, you get tangent of 33 equals 0.904 y over 18 plus y. And then you can solve for y. So multiply both sides by 18 plus y. I'll give you this. And then you can distribute in. You should get 11.689 plus 0.6494 y equals 0.9004 y. And keep solving, and eventually you're going to get that y equals 46.57 centimeters. And then you can take this and plug it in up here to figure out what x equals. So 0.9004 times whatever your y was, so 46.57 has to equal x. So x equals 41.931 centimeters. All right, so your homework is worksheet 4.2. The optional is doing the word problems. If you're just doing regular assignment, skip the word problems. If you want to do the optional assignment, you can do the word problems.